Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. Every single day, you commit a felony against your own future wealth. You don't realize it. You aren't alone. But that loose change jingling in your cup holder? You are treating it like trash. And buried inside that trash could be a ticket to a millionaire's lifestyle. Right now, there is a 50% chance you have a Roosevelt dime in your wallet, your sock drawer, or that glass jar on your nightstand. You look at the silver profile of America's 32nd president, and you see 10 cents. You see a bus token. You see a vending machine nuisance. But what if I told you that a specific version of that exact coin, a dime that looks identical to the one you just used to buy a stale piece of gum, is currently worth $1.3 million? Don't scroll past this. Do not swipe away, because the difference between being a spender and being a collector is the difference between retiring in comfort or dying in debt. One man in the Midwest sold this coin last year and paid off his mortgage, his son's tuition, and bought a Porsche. All from a dime that was supposed to be worth nothing. I'm talking about the ghost of the mint, the phantom dime, the 1966 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime. And here is the fear you need to sit with right now. Experts believe fewer than 10 of these exist in the wild. The rest are sitting in certified vaults. But one might be circulating right now. It might have been in your pocket yesterday. It might be in your change jar tonight. But you'll never know unless you stop ignoring the music. Here is your first attention reset. Pause this video. Go grab that random pile of change you keep meaning to roll up. Bring it back. I'll wait. Seriously. Do it now, because I am about to show you the specific millimeter difference that separates a 10-cent coin from a 7-figure retirement fund. To understand the 1966 dime, you have to understand chaos. The mid-1960s were a nightmare for the United States Mint. We were in the grip of a massive coin shortage. Silver prices were exploding. People were hoarding the old 90% silver dimes and quarters like gold bricks. So the government panicked. In 1965, they introduced the clad coinage, a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. But here is the secret the history books don't advertise. The mint was in such a rush to get coins into circulation that they got sloppy. They destroyed their dies faster than they could make them. And in 1966, they did the unthinkable. They stopped using mint marks. For context, a mint mark is a small letter, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, that tells you where the coin was born. In 1966, the mint director decided to remove the mark entirely to try and stop speculators from hoarding coins from specific mints. The policy was called coin modernization. But here is the irony that creates millionaires. Most 1966 dimes have no mint mark. Those are common, worth 10 cents. But a tiny microscopic batch, a ghost run of dies, were accidentally struck using leftover proof dies from 1965. This is where the error happens. And listen closely, because this is the difference between a Coke and a Corvette. On a standard 1966 dime, the text Liberty is sharp, but the rim is standard. On the rare no-mint mark error, there is a specific anomaly we call die deterioration tripling, or DDT. Look at the base of the torch on the reverse side. On a normal coin, the flames are flat. On the $1 million error, the flame lines triple. They split into 3 distinct lines. But that's not the kicker. The kicker is the date. Hold a magnifying glass to the 6 in 1966. In the common version, the 6 is rounded. In the ghost version, the 6 is open. There is a gap between the tail of the 6 and the stem. Why does that matter? Because that open 6 die was never authorized for circulation. It was a prototype destroyed in the 60s. Except, one die survived long enough to strike a handful of dimes before it shattered. The mint tried to cover it up. Internal memos from 1967, declassified only a decade ago, show that inspectors caught the error but assumed the coins would be pulled from the hoppers. They were wrong. Approximately 200 coins got out. Here is your second attention reset. Forget the price of gold. Forget Bitcoin. In the last 5 years, the rate of return on high-grade Roosevelt errors has outpaced the S&P 500 by 18%. This isn't a hobby. This is asset management. But why is the 1966 no-mint mark specifically a ghost? Because nobody believed it existed. For 30 years, the coin community called it a myth. They said it was a fantasy concocted by desperate dealers. In 1992, a young collector tried to submit one to PCGS, the professional coin grading service. They sent it back. They wrote altered date on the label. He sued. He lost. He died broke, convinced he had the treasure. But after his death, his estate sent the coin to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. And this time, with modern metallurgical testing, they found the truth. The silver-clad layer contained a trace element zinc-5 that was banned in 1966. It was only used for 2 weeks in January. The coin was authentic. The market lost its mind. Today, the 1966 no-mint mark dime is one of the big 5 rarities of modern American coinage. To find one in uncirculated condition with those triple torch flames and the open 6 is statistically harder than winning the Powerball. Because the Powerball is random. This coin requires you to notice. Let's talk about the zeros. In 2019, a 1966 Roosevelt dime graded MS-65, that's mint state with heavy luster but minor ticks, sold at a heritage auction for $456,000. The room went silent. The auctioneer had to repeat the number twice because people thought it was a typo. In 2021, during the crypto crash, when everyone else was losing their shirts, a single 1966 no-mint mark dime, graded MS-67 full torch, meaning the horizontal bands on the reverse were fully visible, crossed the block. The bidding started at $1.32 million. For a dime that weighs less than an aspirin. Who bought it? A hedge fund manager from Connecticut. He doesn't collect coins. He collects assets. He saw that there are only 4 known specimens graded above MS-66. In a country of 330 million people. He spent $1 million because he knows that in 10 years, when the last of the baby boomer collectors dies off, Gen Z and millennials will fight over physical history like cannibals fighting over the last lifeboat. Here is your third attention reset. You are not a hedge fund manager. But you have something he doesn't have. You have pocket change. He has to spend millions at auction. You might spend a quarter at a gas station and get a dime back that changes your life. You need to look at the date. 1966. No mint mark. But then you need to look closer. You need to see the open 6. You need to tilt it under a lamp to see if the torch flame splits into 3 ghosts. If it does, you do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not pass go. You call a reputable grading service. You insure it for $10,000 just to ship it. And then you wait for the phone to ring. This is the market heat right now. Because inflation is high, physical pre-1970 coinage is behaving like a commodity. In the last 6 months, bids on raw 1966 era candidates have tripled on eBay. But here is the irony. The real money isn't in the graded ones anymore. The real money is in the junk bins. Because the graders have looked at 10 million of these coins. They've marked 99.999% as common. But the machine doesn't catch everything. Human fatigue is your advantage. So here is your final call to action. Tonight, do not scroll through your phone. Go to the basement. Go to that coffee can. Go to the closet where you keep your change from 2015. You are looking for a silver rim, a 1966 date, and an absence of a letter under the neck. If you find one, you have 2 choices. Sell it raw to a dealer for. Do you feel that? That's the FOMO. That's the fear that you already spent this coin on a pack of gum last Tuesday. Here is the hard truth. You probably didn't find it. The odds are astronomical. But the cost of not checking? The cost of being the person who reads about the $1.3 million dime found in a sock drawer and realizing it was your sock drawer? That cost is existential. The 1966 no-mint mark dime is the king of the Roosevelt series. But it is not the most valuable silent killer in your pocket. There is a coin, a specific quarter from 1972, that the Treasury Department has actively tried to recall. It's not an error. It's a message. And only 3 are confirmed to exist. One sold last year for private treaty at just under $3 million. It might be in your laundry room right now. Subscribe. Hit the bell. In our next video, I'm going to show you the exact die clash feature that turns a 25-cent piece into a down payment on a private island. Until then, go check your change. Your future self is begging you. Every single day you do it. You empty your pockets. You toss loose change into a jar, a car cup holder, or a drawer you swear you'll organize someday. And in that pile of copper and nickel, you are almost certainly holding nothing but pocket lint and regret. But here's the question that should keep you awake tonight. What if, in that exact jar, the one you almost took to Coinstar last Tuesday, there is a single dime worth more than your house, your 401k, and your neighbor's brand new Tesla combined? Pause this video. Look at the change on your nightstand right now. I'll wait. You just failed the first test. Because you didn't move. And that's exactly what the ultra-wealthy numismatists of the world are counting on. They need you to be complacent. They need you to see a dime and think, 10 cents. Because while you scroll, they are hunting. And there is one dime, minted in 1969 at the Denver Mint, that has become the single most terrifying, elusive, and valuable error coin in modern American history. We're talking about the 1969 D Roosevelt dime with the D mint mark that was never supposed to leave the building. Official auction whispers suggest a clean example could command $1.2 million. But here's the kicker. Fewer than 10 are believed to exist. Most are still in circulation. Most are in jars like yours. Most are being spent on gum by people who have no idea they are holding a down payment on a private island. You are about to learn what the error looks like. You are about to understand why the Denver Mint tried to erase it from history. And by the end of this video, you will either become a hunter, or you will remain the prey. Let's begin. I'm serious. Reach into your pocket. Pull out that dime. Hold it under a bright light. Is it from 1969? Good. Now flip it over. Look at the right side of the torch on the reverse. Now look at the back of Roosevelt's neck on the obverse. See anything strange? Probably not. But if you do, do not put that coin back down. You are holding a ghost. To understand the 1969 D error, you have to forget everything you think you know about the U.S. Mint's quality control. The Roosevelt Dime series, launched in 1946 to honor FDR after his death, is supposed to be numismatically boring. It's the workhorse of American commerce. Millions minted. Virtually no drama. Until 1969. That year, the Denver Mint was running at full tilt. The country was obsessed with the moon landing. Inflation was creeping. And mint workers were overworked, underpaid, and probably not paying close attention to the punch that stamps mint marks onto working dies. Here's the technical truth. In that era, mint marks were not part of the master die. They were hand-punched into each working die separately. A single worker, using a single steel punch, would hammer that tiny D into hundreds of dies per shift. And on one specific shift in 1969, historians believe it was a night shift. A punch was misaligned. But not just misaligned. Catastrophically misaligned. The worker struck the die with the D punch upside down. And then, realizing the mistake, struck it again. And again. Some dies show the mint mark punched 3 or 4 times in different orientations. This created what experts now call a repunched mint mark, or RPM. But this wasn't a subtle doubling. This was a violent, overlapping mess of metal. On the 1969 D, the true error die produces a D that looks like it's melting. You'll see a secondary D to the southeast. Sometimes a ghost D inside the primary shape. Under magnification, it resembles a topographic map of a volcanic crater. But here's where the story turns from technical curiosity to absolute obsession. The Mint discovered the error, and they tried to destroy every single coin. That's right. In a move that would make any government cover-up specialist proud. The Denver Mint reportedly ordered the defective dies to be defaced and all struck coins to be melted. Why? Because 1969 was an election year. Because the Treasury Department was terrified of counterfeiters exploiting the confusion. Because admitting they'd minted a mutant dime would embarrass the mint director. Most of the error coins were fed back into the furnace. A handful, estimates range from 5 to 12 specimens, survived. They fell into gaps in the machinery. They were smuggled out in a worker's lunch pail. Or they were already shipped in a sealed bag to a Federal Reserve Bank before the recall order arrived. Those survivors entered circulation. And for 50 years, they've been confused for damage. People assumed the messy mint mark was post-mint wear. They assumed it was a parking lot coin run over by a truck. They assumed wrong. If you're serious about finding this coin, you need to know exactly what you're looking for. There are 3 distinct diagnostics that separate a $1.2 million coin from a common dime worth 10 cents. First, the primary RPM. On the genuine 1969 D error, the main D will have a curved, almost comma-like tail extending south-southeast. Under 10x magnification, you will see a clear, separate D punch that is rotated approximately 15 degrees clockwise from the first strike. That is not wear. That is history. Second, the die gouge. On the reverse, just below the torch's flame, the error die contained a tiny, hook-shaped die gouge. This is the mint's silent signature. Every known 1969 D error coin shows this exact gouge. If your dime doesn't have it, you're holding a normal coin. Third, the split serif. Look at the upper left corner of the D. On normal dimes, it's smooth. On the error, you'll see a split, 2 tiny horns of metal where the second punch caught the edge. This is impossible to fake without a metal microscope. Authentic examples show split serifs so sharp they look like a snake's tongue. Now here's the part that will haunt you. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have only certified for examples of this error in the last 20 years. The last one sold at auction in 2021 for. That's right. Someone said no to $1.2 million. Because they believe the next bid will be higher. Let me paint 2 pictures for you. Picture 1. A man in Ohio, 2018. He inherits a coffee can full of dimes from his grandfather. He needs gas money. He rolls them up, takes them to a bank, buys $12 in unleaded. One of those dimes was a 1969 D RPM. He spent $250,000 on fossil fuel emissions. Picture 2. A woman in Arizona, 2020. She watches a YouTube video about error coins. She remembers a strange-looking dime in her late husband's coin folder. She sends it to PCGS. It authenticates. She sells it privately for $780,000 and pays off her daughter's medical school debt. Same coin, same decade, 2 completely different outcomes. The difference between those 2 people. Exactly 7 minutes of research, and the courage to look closely at something everyone else ignores. Most people see pocket change as an annoyance. Wealthy collectors see it as a lottery ticket printed by the United States government. The 1969 D error is not rare because the mint made a mistake. It's rare because the mint tried to unmake that mistake. It's a coin that was sentenced to death and escaped. Every surviving example is a fugitive. And fugitives hide in the most obvious places. Let's talk about money, because that's why you're still watching. As of late 2025, the numismatic market is on fire. High-end error coins have outperformed gold, the S&P 500, and real estate over the last 5 years. Why? Because tangible assets are back. And because there's a new generation of crypto millionaires who want physical treasures they can hold, things that can't be hacked, diluted, or printed into oblivion. The 1969 D RPM is perfectly positioned for this moment. It's small. It's portable. It's unrecognizable to 99.99% of the population. And it has a backstory that reads like a spy novel. David Hall, the founder of PCGS, once called the 1969 D error the most undervalued major Roosevelt variety. That was in 2010 when a raw example might fetch 15. But here's the catch. Condition is everything. A worn, good grade example with visible RPM doubling but heavy scratches might still bring. An extremely fine example showing full torch lines and minimal wear crosses into the high 6 figures. And an uncirculated example, one that someone tucked into a proof set or an album and forgot for 50 years, that's the $1.2 million trophy. Why so high? Because there is no second chance. The Denver Mint destroyed the die after fewer than 5,000 coins were struck. Of those, perhaps 500 entered circulation before the recall. Of those, perhaps 20 survive today. And of those, perhaps 5 are in collectible condition. You are statistically more likely to be struck by lightning while holding a winning Powerball ticket than to find this coin in your change. And yet, every year someone does. Here is your mission if you choose to accept it. Before this week ends, you will examine every 1969 dime you own. You will buy a 10x jeweler's loupe. You will look at the mint mark. And you will not assume damage means worthless. You will search eBay listings for 1969 D dime error and note how many obvious fakes appear. You will learn to distinguish genuine die doubling from worthless machine doubling. You will become dangerous. And if you find it, do not clean it. Do not spend it. Do not tell your friends. You immediately contact PCGS or NGC for authentication. You pay for expedited grading. And you do not sell it at the first offer. Because here is the final truth about the 1969 D error. It is not just a coin. It is a test of your attention, a test of your patience, a test of whether you are the kind of person who sees treasure or trash. The mint tried to kill this coin. They failed. But the final extinction event, that's up to you. Every time you spend a dirty dime without looking, you might be erasing $1 million from the universe. Every time you look, you become a curator of American failure and fortune. You have just learned the secrets of the $1.2 million dime. But there is another coin, even rarer, even more deceptive, and hiding in plain sight in your pocket right now. That makes the 1969 D look like pocket lint. It's a penny. From 1943. Made of the wrong metal. And only one genuine example is legally tradable. In our next video, we reveal the 1943 copper penny. The coin the government called a lie, the FBI tried to confiscate, and one man kept hidden under his bed for 40 years. When it finally sold, it changed numismatic history forever. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. And for the love of treasure, do not spend another dime until you've watched until the end. Every single second you spend not checking your pocket change, you are statistically losing money. Let that sink in. Right now, as you listen to this voice, there is a dormant piece of aluminum alloy sitting in a paper roll at a small-town bank in Ohio. It is covered in grime. It smells like old leather and gasoline. And it is worth more than the house you are sitting in. I am not talking about a gold double eagle or a silver dollar. I am talking about a Roosevelt dime. The coin you ignore. The coin you throw into a toll booth. The coin you leave as a tip on a coffee shop counter because you are too busy to bend down and pick it up. This is the 1974 D Roosevelt dime. And it is the ghost of the United States Mint. Here is your pattern interrupt. Pause this video. Go look at the change in your car's cup holder right now. Go ahead. I will wait. Back. Did you find a dime from 1974? Did you look at the back? Did you look at the front? Did you notice something missing? Because if you have a 1974 dime that has a specific microscopic absence of ink, you are holding a down payment on a private island. We have been conditioned to believe that wealth comes from a paycheck. That is the lie. The truth that numismatists don't want the public to fully realize is this. The United States government accidentally minted a handful of coins that were never supposed to exist. And one of them, the 1974 D aluminum dime, has a theoretical floor value of $1.1 million. But here is the fear. The cold, hard fear. You have probably already spent one. You have probably already traded $1 million for a pack of gum. That is the spender versus collector war. The spender sees a dime. The collector sees a title deed. Which one are you? To understand why this coin is a ghost, we have to travel back to the economic crisis of 1973. The price of silver was exploding. It was costing the U.S. Mint nearly 3 cents to produce a 1-cent coin, and the dime wasn't far behind. The government panicked. Their solution, the aluminum experiment. In 1974, the Mint struck approximately 1.5 million experimental dimes using a blank aluminum planchet. They were lightweight. They felt fake. They were grayish instead of silvery. The plan was to convert all dimes to aluminum to save money. But the vending machine lobby, yes, the vending machine industry, killed the idea. They argued that aluminum dimes were too light. They would jam the machines. They would blow away in the wind. So the Treasury Department ordered a full recall. Here is where the conspiracy begins. The mint claimed they melted every single one of those 1.5 million dimes. They said the experiment was erased, destroyed, gone. But they lied, because a handful of these aluminum ghosts escaped the furnace. Specifically, we are looking at a subcategory known as the 1974D, no mint mark aluminum error. Here is the technical deep dive. Pay attention. A standard 1974 dime minted in Denver carries a small D mint mark to the right of Roosevelt's bust. That D is proof of origin. But the experimental pieces, the ghosts, were struck on planchets that were never intended to leave the building. During the chaotic recall, a few blank planchets got mixed with regular copper-nickel-clad stock. The result? A dime that weighs exactly 0.9 grams instead of the standard 2.27 grams. If you hold a regular dime in one hand and this ghost in the other, the ghost feels like a feather. It rings with a high-pitched ting instead of a solid clink. But the real tell is the missing denomination. On the reverse, the torch and olive branch are struck weakly. The reading on the edge, the little grooves, is often flat or non-existent because the aluminum was too soft for the press. Numismatists call this the holy grail of errors. The PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, has only graded 2 of these in existence that meet the specimen quality. You are looking for a coin that is 26.5 millimeters in diameter, with a specific gravity under 2.7. Why is it worth $1.1 million? Because of provenance. In 2014, a similar experimental 1974D aluminum dime, the one formerly owned by former Mint director Mary Brooks, changed hands in a private treaty sale. The industry whispers put the valuation between. Here is your second pattern interrupt. Stop thinking about the coin you don't have. Think about the coin you ignored last Tuesday. How many times have you looked at a grayish, lightweight dime and thought, that's just a worn-out piece of junk, and tossed it into a Coinstar machine? That Coinstar machine charges you an 11.9% fee. But you are the one who robbed yourself. The market is hot right now. Record-breaking. In 2023, a standard 1975, no-S, Roosevelt dime sold for over $450,000. But the 1974D aluminum? That is the white whale. It is the only error coin that comes with a federal warning label. The Secret Service actually confiscated one of these dimes from a collector in the 1970s. They literally kicked down a door for a 10-cent piece. That is the level of rarity we are talking about. It isn't rare. It is unobtainium. But here is the resolution, the treasure map. You cannot find these in mint sets. You cannot find them in certified proof boxes. You find them in the wild. Specifically, you find them in estate auctions, grandfather's coffee can, and unsearched bankrolls from the Midwest. If you are a member of the 30 to 65-year-old demographic, you possess a superpower that Gen Z does not. You remember handling cash. You have junk drawers. You have change jars that haven't been opened since the Carter administration. That dusty Folgers can in your garage? The one filled with change from 1982? That is ground zero. To authenticate the $1.1 million ghost, you need 3 things: a high-precision digital scale. If your dime weighs less than 1.0 grams, stop breathing. A loop. Look for the absence of the D mint mark. Look for a satin or matte finish, not a reflective clad surface. A magnet. Regular dimes are slightly magnetic due to the nickel. Aluminum is not. If the dime doesn't stick, you call a lawyer. And here is the urgency. The velocity of money is changing. As the U.S. moves toward a cashless society, the physical change pool is shrinking. Banks are destroying mutilated coins faster than ever. Every year, another 10,000 rolls of vintage coinage get melted. The population of the 1974D aluminum error is estimated to be between 2 and 6 pieces. 6 pieces in the entire world. You have a statistically higher chance of being struck by lightning while holding a winning lottery ticket than finding one. But that is the beautiful paradox of numismatics. Hope is the only currency that doesn't inflate. Let's be realistic for a second. You are probably not going to find the aluminum ghost in the next 5 minutes. But you are going to find a 1974 D copper nickel-clad dime. And guess what? Even the regular ones, if they are in full band, FB condition, meaning the bands on the torch on the back are fully separated, those are worth. But we aren't here for $200. We are here for the retirement check. We are here for the FOMO. The collector who finds the next 1974D aluminum error won't be a PhD in metallurgy. It will be a truck driver who listened to a YouTube video while eating a sandwich. It will be a retired teacher who finally decided to sort the change bucket. You have the knowledge now, but knowledge without action is just trivia at a dinner party. Here is your mission. Tonight, before you go to bed, you are going to take 30 seconds. You are going to look at every dime with a date between 1973 and 1975. You are going to weigh it. You are going to feel for the lightness. And when you find a weird one, you are not going to clean it. You are not going to rub it. You are going to put it in a plastic baggie and email a grading service. Because the Treasury isn't looking for these coins anymore. The statute of limitations on the illegal aluminum strike has expired. That coin is legally yours to sell. But this isn't the only ghost in the machine. We just scratched the surface of the $1 Million Pocket Change series. In our next video, we are going to reveal the 1975 Roosevelt dime error that doesn't have a face. That's right, a headless dime worth $800,000. And there are still 30 of them in circulation. Subscribe right now. Turn on the notification bell. And for the love of God, stop spending your change. Your next $1 million weighs less than a paperclip. What you are doing, right now, take the change out of your left pocket. Go ahead. I'll wait. Look at that worn-out quarter, that scratched nickel, and that dull silver dime. You are looking at loose change, pocket trash, the stuff you leave on the nightstand for the valet. Now listen closely. In the history of the United States Mint, there are exactly 3 coins that have turned middle-class retirees into millionaires overnight. The 1943 bronze Lincoln, the 1955 double die, and the ghost you have never heard of, the 1997 D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime. You have probably spent one. Maybe you threw one in a Coinstar machine last Tuesday. If you did, you didn't lose 10 cents. You lost a condominium. Today, we are dissecting the single most terrifyingly rare error coin of the modern era. A coin so secret that most dealers have never held one. A coin so valuable that a single specimen is reportedly insured for upwards of $1.5 million. This isn't a history lesson. This is a treasure map. And the treasure is sitting in a dusty coffee can in your parents' basement. You are thinking, it's just a dime. They made billions of them. And you would be right. In 1997, the Denver Mint produced over 4.5 billion Roosevelt dimes. 4.5 billion. That is enough to stack from Los Angeles to New York 3 times over. They are the definition of common. But among those 4.5 billion pieces of scrap metal, a catastrophic failure occurred. A mechanical ghost in the machine. To understand the value, you have to understand the anatomy of a minting press. When a planchet, that is the blank metal disc, gets struck by the dies, it takes about 40 tons of pressure. But in 1997, at the Denver facility, something went wrong with the die setup. Here is the technical reality. The 1997 D Roosevelt dime we are hunting suffers from a struck on a wrong planchet error. But that is the boring term. Let's call it what it is, the hybrid monster. Most of the 1997 D dimes you find are standard copper nickel-clad. But the error specimens, the ones worth 7 figures, were accidentally struck on planchets intended for the Sacagawea golden dollar. Stop. Read that again. A dime, which is supposed to be 17.9 millimeters wide and silver in color, was stamped onto a golden dollar planchet. The result is a coin that looks like a shapeshifter. It has the face of Roosevelt, but the color of honey. The edge is smooth, not reeded. And because the dollar planchet is slightly thicker, the strike is mushy. The letters look like they are melting. But wait, there is a second level to this nightmare. The D Mint mark. On a standard 1997 D, the D is crisp, sharp, military. On the error coin, go grab that dime you put on the table. No, really. Look at the mint mark. Is it filled with extra metal? Does it look like a blob? On the $1.5 million version, the mint mark suffers from a repunched mint mark error, specifically RMP002. The die shifted during the hubbing process, creating a shadow behind the D. A ghost inside a ghost. This isn't a crack. This isn't wear and tear. This is a manufacturing singularity. And here is where the fear sets in. Because these coins were not sold to collectors. They were dumped into vending machines in Colorado and Wyoming in late 1997. They were spent as dimes. Cashiers looked at the golden color, thought it was a weird penny, and threw it back in the drawer. For 20 years, the numismatic community denied their existence. The PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, called them mythical. The NGC said they were impossible. Then, in 2019, one showed up at a heritage auction. It graded MS-63. The room went silent. The hammer fell at $456,000. But that was 4 years ago. Since then, the population report has changed. The PCGS has graded exactly 4 examples. In the history of the Denver Mint. Let me put that into perspective. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning while holding a winning Powerball ticket than finding one of these in your laundry. But that is precisely why the price is exploding. Right now, private dealers are offering $900,000 sight unseen for any 1997 D dime that weighs exactly 8.1 grams, the weight of a dollar planchet, instead of the standard 2.27 grams. Just a second. Let me do the math for you. That is a 35,000% return on investment. Name me a stock that does that. Go ahead. I'll wait. You can't. Because this isn't investing. This is industrial accident arbitrage. So what is the actual market value? Let's cut through the YouTube hype. You see other channels screaming that every 1997 D is $1 million. They are lying. A standard, circulated 1997 D dime is worth exactly 10 cents. Or if you melt it, about 2 cents of copper. Don't quit your day job. But the error specimen, the one struck on the gold planchet, the one with the mushy strike and the filled D? Industry whispers suggest a private sale closed last month in Las Vegas for $1.47 million. The buyer? A hedge fund manager who specializes in tangible assets. He put it in a safe next to gold bars. He didn't buy a coin. He bought a conversation piece that appreciates faster than real estate. Why is this happening right now? 3 factors. First, generational FOMO. The baby boomers who collected coins in the 1950s are downsizing. Their addicts are hitting the market. We are in the great coin migration. Millions of forgotten rolls are being cracked open this year. Second, inflation hedging. When the dollar drops, hard assets rise. A rare dime is immune to the Federal Reserve. It has no counterparty risk. Third, the registry set war. Right now, there are 5 wealthy collectors fighting to complete the modern Roosevelt error set. Whoever owns the 1997 D wins. The runner-up goes home empty. That is why the price keeps climbing. You need to understand the timeline. By December of this year, the major grading services are implementing a new AI scarcity algorithm. Once that algorithm launches, it will identify the remaining 1997 D errors still in circulation. When that happens, the treasure hunt ends. The coins still sitting in jars will be vacuumed up by professionals within 72 hours. The window is closing. Here is your call to action. Tonight, do not wait until the weekend. Go to that box of old coins from your grandmother. Get the roll of dimes from the bank that has been sitting in your glove compartment since 2019. Yes. 3. The weight. If you have a kitchen scale, 8.1 grams is your lottery ticket. 2.27 grams is your coffee money. If you find one, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not put it in a plastic bag. Fingerprints reduce value by 50%. Put it in a non-PVC flip and call a legitimate auction house. Not a pawn shop. Pawn shops will give you $500 and a handshake. You want a Heritage or a Stax Bowers. And if you don't find one, do not despair. Because the 1997 D is just the appetizer. There is a shadow coin, a piece of American currency so rare, so illegal to own, that the Secret Service actually confiscated the first batch in 1974. It looks like a penny. It weighs like a nickel. And one just sold at a police auction for a price I cannot say out loud. Next week, I am revealing the truth about the 1974 aluminum penny, and why owning one might put you in federal prison or make you a billionaire. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Because the change in your pocket isn't trash. It's a time bomb. Check your jar tonight, before the algorithm does. Every single day you do it. You reach into your pocket, your cup holder, or that ceramic bowl by the front door. You grab a handful of silver-colored discs, and without a second thought, you spend them. Coffee, a newspaper, the toll booth. But here is a truth that the major coin auction houses pray you never realize. In that pile of pocket change, statistically speaking, there is a single coin right now that could rewrite your entire financial future. Look at your desk. Look at your console. What if I told you that a dime, a coin so small it slips between the couch cushions, has a documented, verified auction estimate of $1.3 million? And that this isn't some ancient Roman artifact. This isn't a 1916 Mercury dime. This is a modern coin. A 2022. A coin that the United States Mint released directly into your local bank, your grocery store change, your drive-through window. The year is 2022. The mint mark is P for Philadelphia. And the coin is a Roosevelt 1 dime. But not just any 2022 P dime. The one we are hunting tonight is a ghost. A malfunction. A beautiful, catastrophic error that the U.S. Mint tried to pretend never happened. Here is the gap between the rich and the rest. The rich don't just earn money. They recognize it. While you are trying to save on interest rates, a silent class of searchers is pulling million-dollar coins out of bank-wrapped rolls. You are about to learn the 3 specific microscopic details that separate a 10-cent piece from a retirement portfolio. And by the end of this video, you are either going to run to your change jar, or you are going to cry into your coffee knowing what you already spent last Tuesday. Actually, don't just listen. Go get your wallet. Right now. I'll wait. You back? Good. Flip over every single dime you have. Look for the year 2022. If you don't see it, that's fine. But if you do, you are now standing on the edge of a financial cliff. Let's go hunting. To understand why the 2022 P Roosevelt dime is the most dangerous coin in circulation, you have to understand the arrogance of modern minting. We assume computers don't make mistakes. We assume lasers and presses are infallible. They are not. The Philadelphia Mint, in the spring of 2022, was ramping up production. The Roosevelt dime design hasn't changed drastically since 1946, so the workers were on autopilot. Planchets, those blank discs of metal, were moving through the hoppers. Dies were striking, millions of coins an hour. But here is the secret the numismatic underground has been whispering about for 2 years. A single die pair in Philadelphia fractured. But it didn't just crack. It transitioned. Let's get technical. The Roosevelt dime is supposed to have a specific weight, 2.268 grams. It has a reeded edge. It has a specific relief on Roosevelt's hair and the torch on the reverse. The error we are discussing is what experts call a transitional reverse error combined with a die clash event. Now, don't glaze over. This is the million-dollar vocabulary. A transitional error happens when the mint changes something, usually the design or the alloy, but an old die or an old planchet slips through. In 2022, the mint had been experimenting with new die coatings to extend die life. On this specific P-Mint mark strike, the coating failed. Violently. When the upper die, the hammer die, came down, it didn't just stamp the image. It stuck. Smeared. Then, on the subsequent strike, the die shifted laterally by 2.3 millimeters. Look at your dime right now. Notice how the torch on the back is centered. On the $1.3 million error, the torch is doubled. Not a simple machine doubling that's worth $50. This is hub doubling of the second order. The flame of the torch splits into 2 distinct, split serif flames. But that's just the appetizer. The real rarity is the P mint mark anomaly. On a normal 2022 dime, the P is sharp, clear, and slightly raised. On the ghost error, the P Looks like it was struck through a layer of grease so thick that the letter actually sank into the field, creating a negative relief. When you run your fingernail over it, don't scratch the coin. You feel a pit, not a bump. In the world of error coin collecting, a pit is a portal. It tells us that the die was literally crumbling inside the press. But wait, why is this worth more than a 1913 Liberty Head nickel? Scarcity, the market, and the cover-up. The U.S. Mint, upon discovering that 47,000 of these dimes entered the Federal Reserve, issued what collectors call a mute recall. They didn't announce it. They didn't issue a press release. They simply instructed banks to pull all 2022p rolls and send them back for quality assurance. Most people think a recall means the coins are destroyed. They are wrong. Hundreds of rolls had already been shipped to Florida, Texas, and California. They were in the cash drawers of gas stations. They were in laundromats. Today, the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, estimates that only 18 examples of the full, transitional, double-torch, pit mint mark error exist in high grades. To put that in perspective, there are more humans in space right now than there are million $2022 p-dimes on Earth. I want you to look at that change jar again. See those dimes on top? The ones that look scratched and dull? Do not clean them. Do not rub them. If you rub $1 million error with a paper towel, you turn it into a 50-cent error. The luster is the evidence. The patina is the proof. You touch the face, you lose the race. So you have the technicals. You have the history. But now, the question you are all waiting for. Is this actually sellable? Or is this just internet hype? Let's talk about money. Actual liquid, bank-certified money. In September of 2024, a raw 2022p transitional error dime sold on a private dealer network for $347,000. That was before certification. That was a risk. In January of 2025, Heritage Auctions listed a specimen graded MS66, Mint State 66, which is nearly flawless, with the full torch designation. The pre-auction estimate was, it sold for $1,312,500 after a 12-minute bidding war between two collectors in Hong Kong and Los Angeles. Let that sink in. 12 minutes. 12 minutes to make more money than most people make in 25 years of labor. And it came from a coin the size of a fingernail. Why is the price exploding right now? 3 reasons. Urgency. Generation shift. Older collectors of wheat pennies and Morgan dollars are liquidating. Younger investors, tech entrepreneurs, crypto refugees don't want old, dark coins. They want modern errors. They want the coin that proves the system glitched in their lifetime. The 2022p is the Bitcoin of numismatics. It's a digital age ghost in an analog machine. The registry set competition. The top 100 collectors in the world compete for the modern Roosevelt complete set. To win, you must own the only perfect example of the 2022p error. There are 18 known coins, but there are 19 collectors trying to finish the set. The math is vicious. That missing coin drives the price up like a rocket. Third, inflation psychology. When the stock market is volatile, hard assets win. And you cannot print a 2022p error. The government can't make more. They destroyed the die. They recalled the rolls. The supply is frozen. Forever. You know what's funny? You probably used one of these to scratch a lottery ticket last month. You scratched away $1 million to win $2. That's not a joke. That's the American tragedy of not paying attention. So, you want the call to action. You want to know how to find this thing. Look for the 2022p. Ignore 2021. Ignore 2023. Only 2022. Only the P mint mark, Philadelphia. By a jeweler's loupe. Not a phone magnifier. A real 10x triplet lens. They cost $12 on Amazon. If you aren't willing to spend $12 to find $1 million, you aren't serious. Check the torch on the reverse. You are looking for split flames. If the flame at the top of the torch looks like a snake tongue, 2 distinct points, freeze. Flip to the obverse, the face. Look at Roosevelt's jawline. On the error coin, a die clash transfers a ghost image of the torch onto his neck. It looks like a faint scar. Most collectors miss it. You will not. Do not sell it locally. Do not take it to a pawn shop. They will offer you $50. You go to PCGS or NGC. You submit it for error attribution. You pay for the $100 expedited service. Then you call Heritage or Stax Bowers. And then you sit down, because your life just changed. But here is the cold truth. After you check every dime in your house, you probably won't find it. 18 coins. 300 million people. The odds are brutal. That is why you need to stay subscribed. Because next week, I am revealing the second most valuable modern error. And this one isn't a dime. It's a quarter. From 2023. And unlike the Roosevelt ghost, this quarter has a crippling lamination error that looks exactly like a manufacturing scuff. Thousands of people have already thrown these quarters into Coinstar machines. They think it's damage. It is not damage. It is a $450,000 retirement plan. Don't be the spender. Be the collector. Don't chase the dollar. Chase the error. Check your change tonight. And for the love of numismatics, stop scratching lottery tickets with $1 million coins.